life, we try to create some actions, and for every action there is a reactions for that. So that's why we call it as a prarabdha karma, sanchita karma.
There are two actual parts here beside. One is Ashwin Mataji. You can be please.
So when we have this karma, we have to get reactions for that, right? It's called prarabdha karma. We are suffering now. Whatever we are suffering, that's called as a prarabdha karma. And what is about to fructify, which is called sanchita. So we said, "Hamare sanchit mein ye likha hai." So once what happened, there was a one सेठ जी, आई थिंक, हाँ सेठ जी, and उनके घर पे एक बेगर आए. So beggar came to his house, and when beggar saw that, oh, Sethji, your dress is very good. And then Sethji became very happy. He said, he called his wife, Bhagyavan, jara ek get some coin of gold. Arre, beggar was very happy. Today my life is changed. So if I just glorified him once, now I am getting a gold coin. Then he said, now I have more opportunity. I don't have to go and beg again. He said, actually, your car is so good. Who is it? Then this Sethji became very happy. Then he called Bhagyavan. Bhagyavan, jara, whatever the next level of whatever is that, necklace or only kiao. So then Hare beggar was very happy. And third time, again, he said something, oh, our house is very beautiful. And then, Bhagyavan, bada necklace leke aao. Now this beggar was saying, today my life is going to change. He was very happy. Now waiting for that, Bhagyavan, the sets or the his wife will actually bring all those things. 10 minutes over, 15 minutes over, and half an hour. Nobody came. Then this beggar asked, what happened? He said, आपने कैसे मुझे प्लीज किया? बोले वर्ड से. मैं भी आपको वर्ड से ही प्लीज करता हूँ. So this is the material life. You do action, will have equal and opposite reactions, either in terms of words or something. So human form of life is such a beautiful, and we will see today. So I was thinking, recently I finished, are they able to hear this? Just finished Madhya Leela from Chaitanya Charitamrut, and in 19th chapter, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives teaching to Rupa Goswami. And from shloka number 136 to 236 is the teachings given to Rupa Goswami. How many times Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Rupa Goswami and gave his teaching? Twice. First was Ram Keli, and second was Prayag, Dashaswamedh Ghat. So this particular discussion is from Dashaswamedh Ghat, where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught Rupa Goswami the teachings, and that teachings was given for how many days? 10 days. Now here we have only 100 shlokas. So that means per day, did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speak only 10 shloka per day? No. Right now, even if we just for Bhakti Vriksha we discuss at least minimum 10 shloka in a hour or two. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would have given him more than that shloka. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami only gave how many? 100 shlokas. So we can understand that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the essence to Rupa Goswami, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gave the essence of that essence in those 100 shlokas. And it spans starting from what is the fundamental idea, fundamental understanding of as a living entity. And that is where it would actually start. It says, maybe somebody can read this shloka. एता ब्रह्मांड भारी अनंत जीव घना 84 लक्ष योनिते करये भ्रमना. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu starts with the fundamental understanding, that we as a human being is nothing but a spirit soul. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins with that. And how many such spirit souls are there? 84 laksha yonite karaye brahman. So we as a living entity go from one living entity to another living entity and go for 84 lakhs. This is shloka from 138. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not begin from the big things. He starts with that. He says that the whole creation of Lord is, say, for example, 100%. Out of that 100%, 75% creation is spiritual, and somewhere in the corner, 25% creation is material creation. And in that material creation, there are unlimited universes, and in that universes, there are unlimited, in one universe, there are unlimited planets. And on that planet, there are unlimited living entities are there. In Bhagavad Gita, in fact, 2.24, Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that Sarvagata. That means the living entities are everywhere, right? Now the question comes, if living entities are everywhere, then why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says there are only 84 lakh, right? 8.4 million yonis are there. In India itself, forget about India, in Bangalore itself, we have close to 1 crore, right? So 84 lakh is not possible. Then what is this 84 lakh yonis that we talk about? Hmm? Species, okay.
On the mixture of mode of
Okay.
variety for that.
Level of consciousness. So it's not the count. It's not the count. For example, we have RGB, red, green, and blue. When we make a combination of that, we can make a such combination. For example, we have 84 lakh. But does not mean it is the count of 84 lakh species. If it is a count, then only Bangalore is done. Then what about other living entities? And that to human beings, and that to Bangalore. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins that we as the living entity, that is a Sarvagata. Now, as a human being, our body is made of percentage of water. What is the percentage of 70%? So it can also be assumed that there are living entities, their body could be 75% of fire, their body could be 75 earth, their body could be 75 ether, or some combination. So that's why Bhagavad Gita says that the living entities are Sarvagatha, everywhere are there, but their body may not be exactly like all of us. Because even before few centuries, we did not even know that there are living entities in the fire. Very recently, we actually came to know, I mean, the science came to understand that there are living entities which can survive in the fire. So that means the living entity can survive, but their body may not be exactly like all of us. So here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins that there are 84 lakh or 8.4 million yonis are there. Now the question comes that there were some living entities, now they are already extincted. Now what happened? So then that means we are not 8.4 million, but 8.399 million. So how do we answer that question? Any thought? New species came, okay.
What was the question, Prabhu? How do you answer it?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said 84 lakh, and Padma Purana will actually talk about 84 lakh, the same thing. So now some of the living entities are getting extincted. Any example? Dinosaur is what we know.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, and even very good, very nice. That is what Acharyas actually says, that this 8.4 is the total count of species in universe.
For what are human species only?
Yeah, that is subdivision is there. We are just talking. But what may happen, this particular universe may have 6.5 million. Some universe may have 7.5 million. Some universe may have 8.2, and but total universe has 8.4 million, which is 84 lakh species. So even if one here and there does not matter. And the same thing can also apply how our population is increasing, right? How our population is increasing or decreasing. So how do we answer that?
Like more animals are coming into human form now.
Okay, that is one one answer, one way of answering that.
Krishna consciousness is working.
Krishna consciousness is there. Now suppose you have ocean, and from that ocean you take one drop. or some few drops, so what would happen?
Nothing will happen.
Nothing will happen. Unlimited count, and from some species here and there doesn't make any difference. So that is why it is said that unlimited. Brahmanda Bhari Ananta Jiva Gana. What did Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said?
Anand.
Ananta. Ananta means there is no limit. There is no, when there is no limit, how does it matter when some species are increasing or decreasing? So overall does not make any difference. Then after giving the count of 8.4 lakh species, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to the next level. What is the size of that spirit soul? We are still not gone to the human. We are just talking about the spirit. So what is the size of the spirit soul?
Balagashita Bhagasya.
Can you read, somebody read? It is from Shetaswara Upanishad. And so the beauty of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Chaitanya Charitamrita, whenever Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes something, so Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami will give Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's quote, immediately followed by evidence from some scripture. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the size of the spirit soul, Atma, is so and so. Immediately, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami quoting from Svetaswara Upanishad, which is in 141st sloka. Yes, Mataji. Translation.
Divide the tip of a hair into 100 parts and then take one part and divide this into another 100 parts. That 10,000 parts is a dimension of the living entity. This is the verdict of the chief of Vedic mantra.
So the size of the spirit soul is given that if you take the hair, take the tip of that hair, take 100, divide into shatasha, 100 parts, take that 100th part, again divide into 100 parts, so total it is, so that 1/10,000th part is the size of the spirit soul. Now the question come, IT logical mind question will come, that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is actually correlating spiritual entity with the material units, right? Living entity is a spirit soul. Why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is comparing spirit soul with the measurement given in the material dimension, right? Any thought?
So that we can correlate.
So that we can correlate. Very good.
Dimensions are also there in the physical world, spiritual world. It's not that spiritual world.
Dimension is also there in the spiritual world. What if Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would have given a dimension in a spiritual dimension? We couldn't understand. Yes. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Lord, he knows that Kali Yuga, and top of that Bangalore IT people, so they will not understand that. So he said, better I will give some example which we can able to correlate. So that's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives an example which is we are able to correlate. Now at least we can see. Now that we all know that the size of the spirit soul, is it the same for all the living entities, or for elephant it's a bigger spirit soul, and for microsome it is a smaller spirit soul? It is the same size. So how beautiful is that so tiny spirit soul can actually make conscious as big as elephant or even bigger than that, and as small as microsome. Everything has the same size of spirit soul, and which can animate all these living entities irrespective of their material size. Imagine that we look around and say, look at Prabhu's. So Prabhu is looking at me. So this is what the consciousness. The difference between the dull matter and us, that if we look to the dull matter, it will not respond, right? Just look at around. Just look at around. Yourself also look around, right? When we look around, those are on Zoom, you can look around your name. So what happened? When we look around other person, he also look at us. He reciprocates. And that is where the difference between the matter and the consciousness. The consciousness has a feeling, consciousness has a thinking and willing, but the dull matter does not matter what you do, it's a dull matter. So that is the spirit soul. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins with that, and immediately now he quotes another from Padma Purana, that now among all these 8.4 million or 84 lakh species, how many are the human beings and how many are the other things? So anybody knows the segregation of that 84 lakh? 400,000 are the 4 lakh are the human being. That is there. Jalaja. The first line of the Padma Purana is clear. 9 lakh are the aquatics.
20 lakh, I think, fauna and flora.
Okay.
Trees, plants and trees.
Then there is one big chunk, 30 lakh. 30 lakhs are animals, quadrupeds. 20 lakhs are stavara. Stavara means
जो चल नहीं सकते.
non-moving.
Non-moving.
11 lakhs are the insects and reptile. 10 lakhs are birds. 9 lakhs are jalaja, which is the aquatics, and only 4 lakhs are human beings out of 84 lakhs. Padma Puran जिस श्लोक का प्रभु जी रीड करेंगे, आपको दिखाई दे रहा है क्या? जलजा नवलक्षानि.
जलजा नवलक्षानि स्थावर लक्ष्य विंशति कर्मयो रुद्र
संख्या
संख्यकः पक्षिणां दश लक्षणां त्रिमसाल लक्षानि पशवः चतुर्लक्षानि मानुषः.
Yeah, so jalaja navalakshani means 9 lakhs. Jalaja means the aquatics. Stavara laksha vimsha means 20 lakhs. Krumaya rudra sankhyana. Rudra means 11. So 11 lakhs are the insects and reptiles. Pakshinam. Pakshi means birds. That's the lakshanam. 10 lakhs. And 9 lakh are the pashavas. What is called as the pashava animals. And then finally chatur lakshani manusha. So the 4 lakh are the human beings. So again, this 4 lakh. So how do you understand now? What is this 4 lakh actually? Everything. All these manavas are 4 lakhs. So what does that? Consciousness, level of consciousness. It's not the count of human beings, but it is the consciousness of that, and that is what it is mentioned here. To get one human form of life, so what does it mean? That we understand from Srila Prabhupada that if we have to come to that human form of life, that means we have to go through all these 84 lakh. Then only when we are fortunate, then we get the human form of life. So that itself shows that how rare is this human form of life. It's not that we immediately we have today human form, tomorrow also we get. Of course, if you practice Sattvat Sanjayate or Rudva Gachanti Sattvata Madhya Tishtanti Rajasa Adho Gachanti Tamasa. So if we practice in mode of goodness, we'll go ahead up. If we are in mode of passion, we'll live in this earthly planet. If we are in mode of ignorance, we'll go down to the hellish condition. So we don't know. So that's why if we have to come to the human form of life, we have to go all these 84 lakhs time, and then only one time we will get the opportunity of human form of life. Can we understand that? How much time does it take, and how this evolution take, starting from this whatever is that evolution, and finally coming to the Sthavara, and finally Jangama, to the moving entity. So it is very, very rare that we get this human form of life. Yes, Prabhuji, boli.
1 to 21 ratio, 4 lakh by 84 lakh.
Yeah.
So once in 21 times we get human life.
So the possibility that if you follow the ratio or the proportion that 21 times if you go through this cycle, then one time you will get the human form of life, 4 by 84, which is 1 by 24, which is close to 3 to 4% possibility of the getting the human form of life. So it is so rare that we get this human form of life, and that is why once we understand that we have to go through all this 84 lakh, and then we get as a human form of life, and on top of that we get the human form of life, what is the possibility that we'll practice a devotional service? We'll come back to that, how rare is a devotee. So now what is the difference between all these 4 lakh versus the 80 lakhs? What is so special about the human form of life? What is so rare? Why Bhagavatam talks about this Durlabha Manushya Janma? What is so rarity of this human form of life? Yes, intelligence. Very good. What else? Opportunity to serve Krishna. Yes, Mother. Consciousness, higher consciousness. Yes, Prabhuji.
God realizes.
God realization that, and except Chaitanya Mahaprabhus or great acharyas, they can make even the animals, but in general, it is sorry, association with the, we are sitting here, otherwise we will not get the opportunity. All the animals are outside, tiger, cat, dogs, they cannot come and sit. Huh? Desiring to serve Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Natural tendency to perceive the four miseries of four miseries of this world, trying to escape from this world. That natural tendency.
Yes, exactly. So there is a commonality which we would have seen from Gita course, right? What are the four things which are common between human and Janma Mrityu, Jara Vyadhi, Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam? And in Mahabharata, the shloka comes Ahara Nidra Maitunam Cha. Samanya Etat Pashubhi Naranam Dharmo Hi Tesho Adhiko Vishesh Dharmo Hi Hina Pashubhi Samanam. So if there is no difference between the living entity and the human beings and other living entities, we are nothing but animals. But there is something special which is Dharmo Hi Adhika, which is nothing but Adhiko Visheshi Dharma. So the Dharma or the intelligence or the consciousness where we can actually practice Krishna consciousness or God consciousness. So, as Prabhu rightly said, what is the purpose of the human form of life? End the miseries. Animals will never think that I have to get rid of these miseries because they work on instinct. They instinct. Whatever happens, immediately they react. They don't even think of that. But the human form of life, we think, why I'm going through these difficulties. So typically, what happened when we are 18, 90s, that sky is the limit. हम कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. Then when we become 20, 24, थोड़ा सा हमारा कम हो जाता है. When you come to 30, 35, then we know that ground reality is different. And then we get satisfied whatever is that. Sky is the limit, becomes house is the limit. So this human form of life is so rare. The difference between animals and us, ahara, nidra, bhaya, maisunam cha. But even human beings, we can actually reduce all these things. In ahara, how can we reduce? In fact, Srila Prabhupada used to say that our Shad Goswamis, they used to take very less quantity, right? And even sometimes you see some brahmacharis. Once we had opportunity to some devotees, they won't even take night, right? When in November we had opportunity to serve Amaglila Prabhu, night time he did not take anything. So he took only some little in the afternoon, and night time he did not take anything. So even ahara, as a human beings, we can actually reduce. What about nidra? 6 hours minimum, that 6 hours. But even nidra we can reduce. Srila Prabhupada says that Shad Goswamis, they used to sleep only 2.5 hours. Our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada used to sleep couple of hours. He used to get up by 1 o'clock, and then the whole night he used to write the purpose. That means in the even human form of life, we can reduce all these basic necessities, and that is where the human form of life, we can think of that. We have to reduce that. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, defending. How do you reduce the defending?
Eating, sleeping, waiting, and defending.
Bhaya, defending.
How do you?
Huh? By depending on Krishna. Okay. And then, of course, the next is that, but Srila Prabhupada says, and in Bhagavad Gita, there is a shloka 16.21, there are 3 gates to hell. Kama, Krodha, Tatha, Lobha. So this is the 3 gates. So Srila Prabhupada says that if we reduce on this Kama, Krodha, Lobha, automatically you will not come across or go to other living entities, and our defense mechanism will actually come down. You know, all these problems will happen because of this. Any example because of Kama? Ajamil, okay. Vishwamitra, okay. But big example, Ravana. Ravana was actually mesmerized He was completely infatuated because of the lust. And what happened finally? Ram Ravan Yuddha and is vanished. The next is a Krodha. Durvasa Muni, right? Durvasa Muni, then he rubbed Ambarish Maharaj in the wrong side, and then he had got into difficulty. Kama, Krodha, then Lova. You said who? Very nice. Duryodhan. Whole Mahabharata happened because of this, right? So, if we reduce this Kama, Krodha, and Lova, we automatically reduce our defense mechanism. We don't have to even have much defense mechanism. So this is where it is said that this end the miseries, Kama, Krodha, Lova. So even if we reduce all those three, we can actually reduce all our defense mechanism. So this is the end the miseries. So the human form of life, we get the opportunity to reduce all those things, and not only that, we have opportunity that why I am suffering. So the point that I was talking, that when 20, 30 we have everything, then 30th and 35, when we come to the senses, then we realize that actually kuch hone wala nahi. Then we say, most of the time people start reflecting that actually I was thinking that I become a big person, but reality is different, aspiration, and then say that actually life is appear to be very frustrating, and then they come to spirituality. You see that most of the people come to the spirituality in a between 35 to 40, because when they get setback in our life, then we say, oh, I was actually planning big things, but in reality very little I could actually achieve now, but more than that I actually came across only frustration. So is there something better than that? Why I thought that if I get married I'll be the happiest person, if I get IIT I'll be the happiest person, if I get a job in Google I'll be the happiest person, or Amazon or NASA or somewhere. Even if we get that, are we still happy? Then when that 35, 40, when it hits, then we say, no, something wrong hai, isme kuch gadbad hai. So then we see that we have to do something. So the first thing, the major one of the purpose of the human form of life is to end the miseries. And the second, attain the eternal and unlimited happiness by spiritual realization. This cannot be done by any other species. 80 lakh species cannot think of ending the miseries, and they cannot think attaining the eternal and unlimited happiness by spiritual realization. By this time, we should have some realization that the real happiness is in only serving Krishna. There is no other happiness. Some or the other, we try different mechanisms, different platforms, but finally we'll actually get frustrated. We'll come back to that things. So living entities has a different consciousness, and in a Taittiriya Upanishad says there are different 5 coverings, or the 5 koshas. And what is the first kosha? Annamaya kosha, where the living entity is only focused about the Anna. He does not even bother of anything else. Any example of that? Animals. In the human being? Poor people, child, kids, or infant. You see, infant, they have only 2 things: eating and sleeping. So as soon as they are hungry, they will start crying. So mother will come and feed, and then they are sleep. So all their consciousness is elevated up to the level of Annamaya. As soon as they get food, they are happy. Right, Mataji? Doctor, we can. So once they have food, they are happy. Nothing more than that they require. So they don't even bother whether they have a cloth or don't have clothes. As long as they have milk, they are happy. Then after that, little bit elevation of this Annamaya kosha to that Pranamaya kosha. Now there is a living force, there is a passion. Now there is a competition. Now I have to prove to my parents. Now I have to prove to my colleagues or my classmates that how I can actually do that. So their competition comes into picture. So Pranamaya. Now the consciousness level has increased from the food level to the bodily movement, competition, and all things. And from Pranamaya to nahi.
Manomaya kosha, Prabhuji.
Manomaya, right? Now when he says everything, he has aspired a lot of things, but in reality it did not happen. Then at least he said, okay, let me actually dream that. Dream job, dream salary, dream place, because we in real life we couldn't achieve. Then at least let me get happy by thinking in a manomaya. So that is the manomaya. And after manomaya, next is Vijnanamaya. So that
Jnanamaya
is the
kosha.
level. At least one begins that this. So up till until the Manomaya, one is only thinking about this bodily platform. He did not even know that we are a spirit, soul, or something. Only when it comes to the level of Vijnana. So there is a realization that he thinks about that. I am not only this body, but I am a soul, and that I must think of something in relation to that spirit soul. So that is the next level of kosha, which is a Vijnanamaya. So he discriminated between matter and spirit. Before that, there is no discrimination between matter and spirit. And the next level is the where one actually really get happy or Anandamaya,
Anandamaya kosha.
when he start serving the Supreme Soul. When he engage in the service of the Supreme Lord, that is where he become happy. Otherwise, there is no possibility of getting happiness. In a Shruti Purana, in a Shruti's mantra, it is said that the living Krishna is the source of all rasa, right? And the living entity become only happy when he reciprocate with Supreme Lord in any one of the rasas. What are the different rasas? We had a question just now. We have Bhakti Vaibhav, right? There are 5 primaries and 7 secondaries. And what are the primary rasas? Five is very clear. When it comes to the secondary rasa, that is where the mark will be directed. What are the 7 secondary rasas? Huh? Raudra, Hasya, Bhayanak, Vivascha, Virya, Daya, and stunned. So these are the 7 secondary rasa. So living entity get only happiness when we exchange. Shruti mantra says that when we exchange this rasa with Supreme Lord. If we are not able to exchange rasa with Supreme Lord, then we are actually trying to find that rasa in a reflected word, and we say that we are actually not able to find happiness, because the rasa happens, the reciprocation happens with only Supreme Lord. The moment actually we are away from the Supreme Lord, we may get some kind of reflected rasa, but that rasa is not the actual rasa, and that's why we don't get the happiness. Savai pumsa paro dharma yathor bhakti azok sajay ahi tuki apratihata yayatma suprasiddhari. The living entity become only happy when we engage in the devotional service of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and that is where then one reaches to the level of Annam, Anandamaya. The top I was looking Annamaya. The top most is the Anandamaya. So from Vijnanamaya kosha to the Anandamaya kosha is the journey actually begins. Otherwise, you can see some of the living entities, human beings, are only interested only about this bigger circle, which is food. As long as I am happy, I get pani puri, I got rasgulla, I am happy. I don't care about that. The next is about pranamaya. Then next is a manomaya, thinking mental things. If we get start thinking,
Philosophers and all those manomaya. Philosophers and all those considering a manomaya question.
They start thinking from there. Philosophical speculation. So now we understood that human form of life is so rare, and among that human form of life, our consciousness is not even come to the level of the human things. We are even annamaya or pranamaya or manomaya. We are not even about vijnanamaya or anandamaya. So now the first sloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, which actually talks that how this human form of life is so rare, right? We should have some evidence. So the evidence is from 11th canto, 9th chapter, sloka number 29, which says, anybody to read that? Translation.
After many births and deaths, one achieves
opportunity to attain the highest perfection. Thus, the sober human being should quickly endeavor for the ultimate perfection of life, as long as his body, which is always subject to death, has not fallen down and died.
Labdva, sorry, Mataji. Finished?
After all, sanctification is available even in the most abominable species of life, whereas Krishna consciousness is possible only for a human.
Krishna consciousness is possible only for a Labdva, having attained Sudurlabha. Durlabha means Sudurlabha, very, very rare. What is Bahu Sambhavante?
Rarest.
Bahu means many, many, many. Bahu, what is the shloka in Bhagavad Gita?
Bahunam
7.19.
Janman.
Bahunam Janmanam Ante Gyanvan Mam Prapate Vasudevam Sarvam Iti Sahamatma Sudurlabha. And then Manushanam Sahasreshu, which is 7.3. So this human form of life, Bhagavatam says that is not only Durlabh, but is a Sudurlabh. And Bahu Sambhavante, after many, 120 was, right? 4% possibility, right? After the whole cycle one go through that, then only we'll get this opportunity. So the human form of life is very rare. So that is why when we got this human form of life, and today we are celebrating birthday of little tiny cute Gaurangi. So not for her, but for all of us, to give a reminder for all of us that how rare is this human form of life and how to utilize this human form of life. The last line says that it is only in the human form of life that we will be able to achieve Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it is not possible. Another shloka from Bhagavatam 8th canto, 22nd shloka. We can just read the translation directly.
While rotating in the cycle of birth and death, again and again, different species because of home flutive activities. The dependent here is entity, while good fortune may happen to become a human being. This human birth is very rarely obtained.
Again, this human being is very rarely obtained. While rotating in this, what is samsara? What is sansara? When you say we are stuck in a sansara, cycle of repetition of birth, and that is where Shankaracharya says that. What is that shloka? Punarapi janani jatare shayanam ye sansare kalu dustare rupaya pare pahi murare. Unless and until we take a shelter of Murari, we will not be able to come out of this cycle, which is Bhagavatam. It's, and you know, this is from which canto? 8th canto. It's a discussion between 8th canto, Vamana Dev. So this is the where he says that this human birth is rarely obtained. The previous shloka it is said Sudurlabha, and here it is said that after many, while rotating in the cycle of that birth and death, once in a 21 or whatever the proportion that we have, we get the human form of life. So human form of birth is rarely obtained. So even we get the human form of life, which is very rare, how do we utilize that human form of life? And that is where Prahlad Maharaj says, now very soon we will be celebrating Narsimha, and this is from 7th canto 6, Prahlad Maharaj teaching to his friends, where he says very first 5 shlokas, 7.6, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, very beautiful shloka about what is the human form of life, what is the purpose of life. Very, very famous shloka. You can read the shloka. Prabhu ji, पढ़िए प्रभु जी, आपने proportion दिया था. You are able to see?
Yes, sir. Sri Prahlad Vacha, Kaumar Acharya Pragyo, Dharma Bhagavatam, Durlabham Manusha Dharma, Tad Api
Maybe one more time somebody can read in a metric way.
One who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood to practice the activity of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection.
So here, first sloka Prahlad Maharaj teaching to his friends, he says that when do we practice this Krishna consciousness? When should we practice this? Kaumaram. And what is the age of Kaumaram? 5.
Tender
Next
age,
is
5 years. 5 years.
Pauganda. The next is Kishore, and then Yavana. So we should. Some of us are already parents. Some of them very soon they will become, and some of them are not even entered the Grahastha ashrama. So this is the teaching of Bhagavatam, and we are the follower of Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us that as it is a responsibility of a father, it is a responsibility of a mother, that we have to teach our next generation this Krishna consciousness once from the childhood, not once we become old, because generally when we all of you are young, Mataji's and Prabhu, when you start practicing Krishna consciousness, then the devotee or your colleague or your PG mate will say, "अरे आप तो अच्छे थे, क्या हुआ, पागल हो गए क्या आप?" This is supposed to be done when you are old, all the hairs are gray, you are not able to hear, you are not able to speak, you are not able to walk. That time you should practice Krishna consciousness. We don't know where did this understanding actually getting manifested. Srimad Bhagavatam does not talk about that. Srimad Bhagavad Gita does not talk about that. Where did we learn this? That we have to practice this Krishna consciousness when we are old. I don't know. Any thought?
Western education, Prabhu.
Huh?
Western education.
Western education.
Because they believe in just eating, sleeping, waiting, and depending on it.
So that is nothing but the Pashuvi Saman.
Yes,
Saman.
Thought that after like certain age, they settle everything, and in old age
Yeah, the settle, that reminds me very good example. One devotee, when I told multiple times, but this is good to tell, repeat again. So he was coming to our Bhakti Vriksha, and he got married, and he said, "Prabhu, give me some time. Once I get settled, then I will come to Bhakti Vriksha." Then एक दिन होगा, एक वीक होगा, 2 वीक हो गए, 1 month हो गए, 2 months हो गए, 1 year होगा, 2 year होगा. Prabhu did not come back.
Never settled.
And then this is
Never settled.
So here again, Prahlad Maharaj is talking about Durlabha Manusha Janma, and he says that Kaumaram Acharate Pragya Dharman Bhagavata hi. So this dharma or the religious things should practice from the things, because when the stick is weight, we can actually bend it. But forget about old, even 20-30-year-old, we have acquired some habits, and try to change that habit, so difficult. And imagine somebody's acquired some habits, and at the age of 60 you say that no, you get up early in the morning, 4:35 o'clock. Impossible. Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, some of his sannyasi disciples, they went to Europe, and then there was one person who was actually very much interested. He said, "Make me Brahmana." And then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciples said, "Yes, I will make you Brahmana. You have to do only 4 things." And what is that 4 things? 4 regulative principles. When he heard this, he said, "Impossible." So this is what happens when we acquire some habits in this life, when we acquire some sanskaras in this life, and imagine previous n number of life, and then we say at the end of 59, we say you change the habit. That it is impossible. If you try to give the shape to that stick, the stick will actually break. So that is why when we are in early stage, we actually cultivate good habits, not in the old age. In old age, it becomes very, very difficult. Do you agree, Mataji? आप you agree ना? हाँ? नहीं, आपको ही पूछ. Now Prahlad Maharaj continue that once we acquire this human form of life, which is a Durlabh Manusya Janma, what we should do that? Maybe we can read the translation directly.
The human form of life afford one a chance to return home, back to Godhead. Therefore, every living entity especially in the human form of life, must engage in devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. This devotional service is natural because Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the most beloved, the master of the soul, and the well-wisher of all other living beings.
This devotional service is natural because Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality, is the most beloved master of all the soul and well-wisher of all the living entities. So it is said that Prahlad Maharaj said that the human form of life is the only way we get the launching pad where we can actually take off. Otherwise, not in the any other species. And 80 lakh, forget, unless and until it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or the Supreme Personality of Godhead who comes and who can make even animals chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Any example? Chaitanya in Jharkhand forest, right? He gives opportunity, but for general, it is not possible to practice Krishna consciousness. Only in the human form of life, this opportunity, it affords one chance to go back to Godhead. Just like in government office, there are class 1 officer, class 2 officer, class 3 officer, and class 4 officer. Who gets the most facilities? Class 1 officer. And when he gets the most facility, it also comes with the responsibility. So similarly, as Mataji was saying, that the human form of life, we have we have the intelligence where we can actually discriminate what is right and wrong, and that intelligence actually comes with the higher responsibility. And if we don't do that, human form of life, then Prabhupada gives the example that we are using the Mercedes Benz for plowing the land. So for plowing the land, we can use some other equipments, for example, tractor. But when Mercedes Benz is used to go from one place to the other place with the speed of whatever 180 or 200 kmph or miles per hour, so that means we are misusing the facility given by Lord Sri Krishna. And who is teaching this? Prahlad Maharaj is teaching that it is only in the human form of life we get this launching pad where we can actually practice Krishna consciousness. And again, he says, because Lord is most beloved and is the master of soul and the well-wisher of all the living entities. Now, somebody may say, what about my happiness? Right? We get some happiness in this material world. What about that? Prahlad Maharaj answers that are very beautiful. Some of us may get actually surprised by reading this shloka. Mataji?
Prahlad Maharaj continues, my dear friends, born of demigod, demonic families, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects by contact with the body can be obtained in any form of life. According to one's past future activities, such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor, just as we obtain distress.
Dukkhamaya ayatnata. Yatna means prayatna. Yatna means without prayer. Just like we don't endeavor. How many of us endeavor that we invite, we say, okay, Krishna, please send me miseries. Do we put endeavor for miseries?
Only Kunti Maharani.
Only Kunti Maharani. Do we endeavor for miseries? No. But miseries come. Prahlad Maharaj says, similarly, just like miseries come on its own, similarly, even happiness also comes on its own. In fact, Prabhupada writes very, very bold statement in the purport that one's happiness and miseries are fixed in one's life. It is fixed. The quota of our happiness is fixed in this life. No matter whatever endeavor we put, will actually be fixed. And in case, suppose if you get extra than your quota, what happened? One day, one devotee was sharing that one devotee, he was getting 44,000 per month, I guess per month. And then his boss said that you are working for 9 hours, you will get 44,000 rupees. Now you work for extra couple of hours, will get 50,000. Then this young devotee, he went to home, he asked his wife, shall we do that? What was the response of his wife? Yes, without second thought. Yes, you go for that. This is the way we should actually become richer and richer. Then this gentleman went to his boss and said, yes, I'm agreed. So then he started working. Instead of 9 hours, he started working 12 hours. Now he started getting 50,000 rupees. He got extra 6,000 rupees. Now because he is working very hard, now he started getting a back pain. Now he went to doctor. Doctor said that now you have to come every month and you have to spend 5,000 rupees per month. So even if you get more than your quota, it will actually go. So Prabhupada says that the quota which is destined to you, you will get that exactly. So Prahlad Maharaj is saying two important thing here. The happiness that we are actually striving in this human form of life is actually get in any form of species. Not necessary that you have to come to the human form of life to get that happiness. This happiness is actually destined. How does this happiness come? Automatically by
Touch of objects of contact with the body.
fruitive
Sense
activities.
objects of contact with the body.
As per our karma, happiness and distress is fixed. It will come whether we try it or we don't try it. We get it. How many of us want? I mean, when we are actually playing cricket, that time we wanted to become Sachin Tendulkar. Will everybody become Sachin Tendulkar? No, only few 11 people, those who are fortunate because of their fruitive activities in the previous life, they get opportunity to. Or how many of us like become to Birla or Ambani's or Prime Minister or Chief Minister or IAS officer? How many of them? Very few, right? Because there are thousands and lakhs of Indians can try, but only few can actually get. And now, of course, I think IPL gives many more opportunities. Prabhu, Chepandi.
Okay, I am saying that the miseries are definitely automatically opted. But even to get material happiness, one has to put effort, one has to study hard, one has to crack exam. Then only he will get.
So that is the
trap.
trap.
Is automatically opted.
Sorry, bro.
I am saying misery is definitely automatically opted. But happiness, we have to put a lot of endeavor. You have to study hard. You have to get job and then get salary.
For miseries also does not come automatically in other way. You have to come to Bangalore. To get the traffic jam, if you go to small town, you will not get the traffic jam. That's what you said, right? So the point here is that we cannot, in Bhagavad Gita 3rd chapter, shloka number 3rd or 4th, where Krishna says that you cannot remain idle, not for a moment. You cannot even remain. So we have to put our endeavor. But the happiness what we are destined, that is fixed. The misery is fixed. In fact, the next shloka will talk. What Prahlad Maharaj is saying that why you have to, I mean, today, Saturday on 8th of April, we heard here, and from 10th of April in office, everybody started not working very hard, saying that because we heard on that day that we don't have to work, and then everybody got a few, what you call the pink slip and said that you are removed. No, that's not the purpose what we are discussing. What is the minimum required? 8 hours or 9 hours, but don't go for the 12 hours and get the back pain or some other reason. Yes, bro.
Even like working hard might bring success, but it's not guarantee happiness. That's one thing.
Exactly.
And also, like we can see in our own lives and others' lives, there are so many people who don't work hard and they get things on a platter. Like they don't really have to put in much effort, but they're still happy in their life and they get a lot of things.
There are many people that we see that they are born with the, and there are people who don't even get basic needs. 3 ends does not even meet. So how do we understand that? And even if you get adi antavanta kaunteya na teshu ramate buddha, there is a beginning and there is a end for that. So very nice point, thank you. So even if you work hard 12 hours, you may get it, but you will actually spend it. Or even if you not even get it, if it is not destined. But it does not mean that young students or all young that, oh, abhi jo milne wala hai kuch nahi karna hai, aapne aap aa jayega. No, not like that. We have to put karmanyavadi karaste ma phaleshu tadasi. But make sure that we don't
Overdo it.
And in Nectar of Instruction, there is a shloka from Rupa Goswami's Pratyahara. And Srila Prabhupada says Pratyahara is
Accumulating.
for accumulating. He does not just accumulate it. So that kavala, dabbu kavala. So we don't need more and more and more and more. So not that ahara. So it's very important that we understand that and we actually experience that. How many of us actually worked very hard? Only one of them can crack IAS officer, right? Or many of us become IITs, or many of us actually become whatever is that. Whatever is that, we actually, very few actually get. Even if we have endeavor, in fact, it was said that there was one cricketer even much more greater, technically better than Sachin Tendulkar, but only Sachin got opportunity to play international level, and there are many people did not even come to the district level. So even if we may have talent, but if it's not destined, we may not have. But what happened if we endeavor materials? And Prahlad Maharaj answers the next question. Okay, somebody said, no, okay, let me try. Then Prahlad Maharaj said, don't worry, even if you try, it is nothing but wastage of time. Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Ranjit Prabhuji, padhiye. Translation.
Endeavors merely for sense gratification on our material happiness and economic development are not to be performed for they result only in a
Loss
lo-
of time and energy.
loss of time and energy with no actual profit. If one's endeavors are directed toward Krishna, Krishna, Krishna consciousness, one can surely attain the spiritual platform of self-realization. There is no such benefit from engaging oneself in economic development.
So Prahlad Maharaj said that, okay, somebody said that, let me try it. Prahlad Maharaj said, you try it. But I will tell you what happened. What will happen? Loss of time and energy with no actual benefit. There is no substantial benefit when one engages in all these material activities. There is no such a benefit from engaging oneself in economic development. Economic development. Please keep this word in our mind. By the way, when I'm sitting here, does not mean that I'm perfect. I'm also striving like all of you. In fact, I pray to all of you that please pray for me that I will follow this. Sitting here and speaking is the easiest thing, but following is difficult. But we all together strive. But the point here is that there is no such benefit from engaging in economic development, because at the end it is a loss. There is no happiness, and it is a loss of time and energy. Then, after telling all this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talks about the classification of the living entities. He says, classification of the living entity, there are two types of living entities. What are these? One is eternally liberated, and one is eternally conditioned. Eternally liberated called as Nitya Mukta, and eternally conditions called as. So the sloka goes in 144. Now we started 138, 131, 141. Tara madhye stavara jangama dui veda jangame triyaka jala sthala chara viveda. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, in the eternal condition things, there are three Vedas which are moving and non-moving. And in moving, there are three types of living entities, which is Jala, Sthalachara, and Viveda. So Jala means those living entities. So we understood that living entities which are conditioned. Among the condition, there are moving and then non-moving. In moving, there are three categories. Those who walk on the land, then those who swim in the water, and those who fly in the sky. So which is a Jangame, Triyaka Jala, Sthalachara, Viveda. And those who walk on the land, there are again further divisions. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says next shloka 145th. Can somebody read Bengali? Oh, it's very small. तारा मध्ये मनुष्य जाति अति अल्पतर तारा मध्ये म्लेच्छ पुलिंदा बहुत सावरण. So among all these, those who are walking on the land, among all those things, Manusha ati alpatara. Manusha is a very small percentage of that. So there is a human 4 lakh, animals 30 lakhs and all things. And then among the mains, there are something called as Veda Nishta Madhe Arthika Veda Mukhe Mane Veda Nisiddha Papa Kare Dharma Nahi Jane. So now, once you get the human form of life, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that more than Ardhika, more than 50% are Veda Nisheda. That means they are not even following the rules and regulations. They are spiritually ignorant. Vast majority of they are uncivilized. So that is the in the human form of life. Among the 4 lakh, more than half are Nishiddha. And then left, whatever that 25 or 35%, there are some of them, they are aware of their identity as the spiritual living entity. And among that, some of them are only Veda Mukhe. That means they are only talking about following the scriptures only by lip service. No practical, only talking but no practical. And those who are actually following called as Dharmachari. And in Dharmachari is so beautiful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Dharmachari madhe bahut karma nishta, koti karma nishta madhe eka gyani sreshta. So among this Dharmachari, there are koti karma nishta. Karma nishta means those who are engaged in a fruitive activities. Kam karo, karma karo, phal milte. So human beings, among the human beings, uncivilized, in the civilized, there are 50% are only with lip service, and the rest of that, and koti are, which is karma nishta. Among koti karma nishta, there is only one who is a jnana nishta. Koti jnana madhe haye eka jana mukta. Among all the kotis who are jnanis, there is one mukta who is liberated. Koti mukta madhe durlabha eka Krishna Bhakta. So this is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is taking that when we get the human form of life, which is also rare, and among the human form of life, practicing Krishna consciousness is so rare, so rare. So that is why it is said that. And then last, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataiva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakale Ashanta. I'm saying that we are getting Ashanta here now. Okay, I'll just quickly finish. So there is a moving on the land, majority of the people. Then among that, there is a human, which are Alpatara. Among the humans, there are only few who are followers of the Veda Nishtas. Among the Veda Nishtas, there are few who are Dharmacharis. Among Dharmachari, there are Karma Nishtas. Among the Koti Karma Nishta, there is a Gyani. Among the Gyanis, Koti Gyanis, there is a one Mukta. And Anam Koti Mukta, there is a one Krishna Bhakta. Can you imagine the rarity of the Krishna Bhakta? And that is where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is taking Rupa Goswami from the small as a spiritual spark to the creature, to the Koti Nishta, to the Gyanis, to the Krishna Bhakta. So we are done. This is the last. So Srila Prabhupada says in Chaitanya Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 2nd chapter, 20. So now, how rare is this becoming Krishna Bhakta? So rare. And that is why that Akal Sakal is Ashanta. All others, even you are a Dharmachari, you are still Ashanta. Only Krishna Bhakta is Shanta. Baki Ashanta. So we'll just finish with this Durlabha Manusha. Can you read Sanskrit?
दुर्लभा मनुष्य देहो देहिनां क्षणभं तत्रापि दुर्लभं वैकुण्ठाभिदर्शनम्.
Translation?
For the conditioned soul, the human body is most difficult to achieve and can be lost at any moment. But I think that even those who have achieved human life rarely gain the association of true beings who are dear to the Lord of the world.
So here it is said that Durlabha Manushya Deha, again Durlabha Manushya Janma, in 11th canto, 8th canto, again this 11th canto, this Manushya Janma is very rare. Dehina Kshana Bhangur. This Deha is a Kshana Bhangur. Tatapi Durlabha Manya Vaikunta Priya Darshanam. But those who have achieved the human form of life, if we get devotee association, which is very dear to the Lord Vaikunta, that is a very rare. So when we get the human form of life, which is very rare, and among the human form of life, becoming Krishna Bhakti is very rare, and among the Krishna Bhakti, if you have the association of the devotees, which is the Vaikunta Priya Darshana, is such a rarest thing. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking Rupa Goswami, that the topic or the subtopic of that section is the rarity of the devotees. Krishna Bhakti is so rare. So when we are discussing here about rarity of Krishna Bhakta, when we practice Krishna consciousness and when we come together, then we start finding a fault with devotees. How many devotees are there in Bangalore? Very rare. We can see that Koti Koti karma kandi, one Gyani, 40 Gyani, one Mukta, Koti Mukta, one is a Krishna Bhakta. And when we come together and then we say, oh, this devotee is not good, that devotee is not good. In fact, we have so rare opportunity to associate with devotees. And that is why Srila Prabhupada is, and in this purport is saying that it is the rarest for the human form of life to become Krishna Bhakta. And it is the rarest to have a association of devotees. So today on a very wonderful day when we are celebrating birthday of Gaurangi, that this whole discussion was just to remind ourselves that how rare is the human form of life, and among rarity, how rare is a Krishna Bhakta, and among that is to we get the association of a devotee. So with that, we will sing a very wonderful shloka from Narottam Das Thakur. We will read the first translation. There are 4 stanza. Mataji Prabhu, Mataji Prabhu. So just first we'll read the translation and then we'll sing this. It is. Can you read the shloka and the translation? Will you able to read, Mataji? Hari Hari. You can just read normal meter.
Hari Hari Bifale
Janama Gon. मनुष्य पाए
Radha Krishna
भाजी जानी विष खाएनु. Translation, Mataji.
Oh Lord Hari, I have spent my life uselessly, having obtained a human birth and having not worshipped Radha and Krishna. I have knowingly drunk poison.
जानिए सुनिए विष खाए. विष means poison. जानिए, by knowingly, if I don't मनुष्य जन्म पाए, राधा कृष्ण न भजे, if I don't worship Radha Krishna and having this human form of life, actually I am taking the poison. Prabhuji.
गोलोकेर प्रेमधन हरि नाम संकीर्तन रति न जन्मीलो के ताय संसार विषय नाले विवा निशी हिले जले जुरैते न कोई नु उपाय. The treasure of divine love in Golok Vrindavan has descended as the congregational chanting of Lord Hari's holy names. Why did my attraction for that chanting never come about? Day and night my heart burns from the fire of the poison of worldliness, and I have not taken the means to relieve it.
Samsara bisha nele dibon disha nai jwale duraita nai koni upay. Day and night I am struggling for these things, material things, but actually golokera prema dhana harinama sankirtan. This holy name is coming from Goloka, the wealth coming from Mataji. Third one. Tara Sakshi Jagai Madhai.
Lord Krishna, who is the son of the king of Mithila, became the son of Sachi. Lord Chaitanya and Balram became Nitai. The holy name to the world, all those souls who were lowly and blessed. The 2 sinners Jagai and Madhai are evidence of this.
Brajendra Nandan is Krishna. Sachi Suta Hoile se. Balaram Hoile Nitai. And this, the holy name delivered all this Dina Hina. And who is the example or the witness or the Sakshi of that? Jagai and Madhai are the example that even the wretched person like Jagai and Madhai were delivered. The last. Aha Prabhu Nanda Suta.
Karuna Karo Varo Narottam Das Kore Nath Tehigo Ranga Pai Toma Vina Keache. O Lord Krishna, son of Nanda, accompanied by the daughter of Vrishabhanu, please be merciful to me now. Narottam Das says, O Lord, please do not push me away from your reddish lotus feet, for who is my beloved except for you?
Aha Prabhu Nanda Suta. Nanda Suta means the son of Vrishabhanu Suta. Suta means daughter of Vrishabhanu. Karuna Karo. Please be merciful. Yehi baro. This time, please at least be merciful. Narottam Dasa kohe na theli rang paye toma vina ke ache amar. Without you, there is no shelter. This is the prayer from Narottam Das Thakur. So we will sing this, and after that, Advaita Gaur Prabhu will have the next step. We'll sing this. Maybe kids also can join and just sing together. Shall I put into the bigger screen? Are we able to see that?
And we have sent in the group also. Please check the Bhakti Vriksha group. It's there in the group.
This is from Narottam Das Thakur, one of the great devotee. Even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally inundated him with the prema in the river, right before even Narottam Das Thakur appeared. Thank you very much. It's so exemplary here. Advaita Gaur Prabhu and Mataji is showing that how we should celebrate birthday for a son or daughter, having all the Vaishnavas here, chanting Krishna's holy name, seeking the blessing from Vaishnava. One's life is to get the blessing from Vaishnava, and what else could be better than that? So very exemplary. So we pray lotus feet of Gandharvika Giridhari Narsimhadev Bhagwan and Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani and our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, that they shower their choices blessing on the birthday girl, and may she become a wonderful devotee, and may spread Srila Prabhupada's mission and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission to the many, many souls. So let's chant one time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.